Our top political priority over the next 2 years should be to deny President Obama a second term.
All right, that was Mitch McConnell commenting on his push to get Obama out of office, and that was literally weeks after the election. The feud continues between the incoming Senate Majority Leader and the president. This is the president stands his ground, saying that he's going to use his executive powers to push through a measure on immigration reform. It's a move that the president said just 1 year ago he didn't have the authority to take. Take a listen.
You have a power to stop deportation for all.
Actually, I don't. If, in fact, I could solve all these problems without passing in Congress, then I would do so.
President Obama said last year that executive action was not an option, because he would be ignoring the law. There's a path to get this done, he said, and that is through Congress. He's right. The action he's proposed would ignore the law, would reject the voice of the voters, and would impose new unfairness on law-abiding immigrants, all without solving the problem. In fact, his action is more likely to make it even worse. What does the president have to say to the countless aspiring immigrants who've spent literally years waiting patiently in line? To the people who played by all the rules? Where's his compassion for them?
Now, the president has stated for his part that he never flip-flopped on the issue of immigration or executive action on it. Just this month, the president dug in his heels.
And I indicated to Speaker Boehner several months ago that if, in fact, Congress failed to act, I would use all the lawful authority that I possess to try to make the system work better. And that's going to happen.
The action he's proposed would ignore the law, would reject the voice of the voters, and would impose new unfairness on law-abiding immigrants, all without solving the problem.
Now, Republicans made it clear they're not going to take this lying down. They've threatened to take action if the president moves forward with this threat. Times reports the party sharply divided about whether the GOP, that is, about whether or not they want to go as far as shutting the government down or to seek Obama's impeachment. Believe it or not, there are some voices calling for that, apparently, in an effort to stop the actions moving forward. Some conservatives, they write, are pushing to do one or the other, while the Republicans have urged the party to avoid going down either of those routes. Okay. Let me ask you guys, we'll get into the executive orders in a second, okay, from prior presidents. This isn't unprecedented, but Bill, do you think the president has this authority, or any president has this authority to act, in effect, unilaterally if Congress won't?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a constitutional scholar. I know that the current president, who is one, 22 times said that he doesn't. In my readings, it seems like a very dangerous precedent. Although I understand that this has happened in the past, and that's a dangerous precedent as well. Would people at this table be comfortable with a Republican, a very conservative Republican president doing the same?
Well, let me just show. Past
area.
presidents, as you said, haven't hesitated using executive powers. Look at the names here, including Republicans. Ronald Reagan took executive action 381 times. George Bush, the senior, 166 times. Bill Clinton, 364. George W. Bush, nearly 300 times. Barack Obama, less than that. In fact, Reagan used his executive power to help 100,000 families cut in a loophole included in a comprehensive immigration reform bill passed by Congress back in '86. He also offered relief to more than 200,000 Nicaraguan exiles. The elder Bush used executive power to permit 1.5 million undocumented spouses and children of people shielded from deportation by a previous law to stay in the U.S. And White House officials point out that a number accounted for about 40% of illegal immigrants in the country at that time. So there is certainly precedent with Republican presidents that they've done this before, even on the subject of immigration.
Yeah, the naturalization is supposed to fall into the realm of Congress, to Congress, not to the president.
Answer the question. Did the Republican presidents do exactly what Barack Obama wants to do?
I haven't researched what you've said.
Right. I'm just
I think he was talking about Nicaragua. He was talking about Nicaraguans.
There really is no question. This president does have the authority to do what he's doing, but that doesn't mean that it makes good political sense. There are those that support immigration and support this move. I believe you three, but I seriously question if it's the. I know he's delivering on a campaign promise.
Well, I think the numbers
and
support you,
legacy.
Dominic, to be fair.
But I think
No,
he's
keep going
declaring
here.
war,
Let's bring up
and he's
that poll,
gonna
guys.
lose with Congress.
Well, we showed at the top of the show, Dominic, that about 3/4 of Americans versus a quarter believe that we shouldn't be deporting these people if they got families here in the States. However, how the president's going about this, you're found in the majority. No, can we get up that CBS News New York Times poll? This was taken in September. Poll shows that 51% agree with you, saying the president, I'm sorry, this was back in September, that he should be able to use executive powers to address immigration if Congress didn't do it, while 43% didn't. Those numbers, however, have reversed recently, and more people are having an issue with how he's going about doing it. So to that point, and I'll bring you into this, Gary, politically, there's a constituency, obviously, the Latino vote here, where Democrats think he should have done this before the November elections, right? Politically, is there a risk where whether it's a president or a governor or whatever the case may be, it comes off as too heavy-handed? Even if they like the policy, they don't like the politics to get it done.
Well, looking at past history and comments that the Republicans have made from the beginning of the Obama's first administration, that they would do anything they could to destroy or make him a failure. I mean, they've out front with that. This is just another thing that they've been throwing into the press, making people change their mind. The fact of the matter is, only Congress can determine who's a citizen or not. But the President of the United States, where Richard used the word prosecute, I'll use the word deport. The President can determine who should be or can be deported. And what this is doing is taking the fear of individuals who walk the streets every day worried that they could be picked up by INS at any time and deported for any reason. So what he's doing is taking that fear away from them. Is it a political issue? Absolutely.
Yep.
He's going to, I would imagine, the Democrats in general will be more closely identified with the Latino community than they have been. I mean, look at what's happening in Florida. Latinos used to vote Republican in Florida. That's changing.
I'd argue, Bill, if I'm Republicans, I want to get this issue out of the way
agree.
this year, not in 16. And they need a bigger share of the Latino vote. So if they can curb the voices who are talking about impeaching the president or shutting the government down or whatever, and we're going to hear those voices after tonight, we're going to hear it. If they can instead get their name on some watered-down version of this, I'm thinking from a Republican perspective, they win. What they can't afford is to be labeled as the people who didn't want any more Latinos in America.
Absolutely.
So how do they do that?
And the thing is, there's been a huge effort to reach out to Latino voters in the country, and the new Congress, I believe, would have or still will do something on immigration.
Then let them do it, Bill.
They don't come until January.
Let them
They
do it in
don't come in.
January. They can roll this back.
They can do something in January.
You
but
really
the-
think the Republican House and Senate are going to
pre-
vote on an
the
immigration bill?
president is sticking his thumb in their eyes right now. He is
You know,
He is.
overexerting
There's no doubt
his
about it.
authority.
There's no doubt about it.
If he is, it isn't because that's his purpose. This is not the kind of thing where you want to look at polls and decide what you're going to do. He has
It
an
is because
obligation.
he's throwing a temper tantrum after the election.
He's
is what
throwing
he's doing.
a temper tantrum.
He's throwing a temper
He's
tantrum after
saving
the
5
election.
million people from
He
deportation.
could have done that for the last 5 years, 5.5
You know,
years.
that's a perfectly valid criticism, but that doesn't mean he's throwing a temper tantrum now. He's doing what he thinks is right. You can
Okay.
disagree with him.
The
but-
didn't do it
optics,
for
though,
5.5
Dominic,
years.
the optics, there's a lot of folks who agree with both of them at the same time. They think that, hey, you know what? This is probably a politically smart move for him, okay? He's finally seen he's delivering on a promise he's made and never really moved on, okay? Use political capital for other stuff. But they also agree with Bill that now all of a sudden, I had to laugh, though, that, Mitch McConnell today, elections have consequences. President got elected in 08. A week later, he's saying, my first job is to get this guy so he doesn't get elected 3 and 4 years later. So, but my point is, you've always said, he's going to do the angry black man as soon as he walks out of office after
No
8
doubt
years.
about it.
But you've
No
also
doubt about
criticized
it.
him that he hasn't done enough. He's finally doing something. Can you criticize him at the same time saying, you know what, he's being too imperial here, when at the same time you say he's not getting enough done?
I think we will find out the answer to your question as this new Congress that's coming in goes along. There is no way in the world they're going to let this president, and I'm not implying anything, except to say that Mitch McConnell and Speaker Boehner, the president is basically declaring war. with this incoming Congress. And so he's making himself, let me just finish.
Nonsense.
Okay, well, let me just finish. He's making himself relevant, so you can throw the lame duck status away from him, but at what cost? At what cost?
Are you finished now?
I'm done now.
That's nonsense.
Okay, why is it nonsense?
He's not declaring war.
They have okay. Well, let's look at the quotes that Boehner and
wait a minute.
McConnell have said.
Whatever McConnell
What
and
did
Boehner
they say?
say, Tom Coburn is predicting violence in the streets.
Okay.
I mean, look, put aside the craziness.
We have that already.
They let them say what they want to say. He didn't declare war. He's doing what he thinks is right. Step back, everybody. Do you think he's doing the right thing? Yes or no, Dominic?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Because I do believe.
Hold
Wait,
it.
let me just finish.
If I'm taking a poll, I wanna
let me
take my
just
poll.
finish. I do believe that some Republicans have a point when they say that the country needs to shore
Make
up
a
the
de-
border.
make a decision.
That more money needs to go into enforcement.
Make a decision.
So I do think that, and when it comes to immigration,
Yes
so
or no? Is he doing the right thing, the president?
from a political point of
No.
view, no.
Is he doing the right thing on the merits?
No.
He's doing the
Okay.
right.
Bill.
Is
No.
he doing the right thing on the merits?
No, should do it with the
Is he
with
doing on
Congress,
the
with
right thing on the
Congress.
merits?
Yes.
With Congress.
I think he's doing the right thing on the merits. You're the swing vote.
You're the swing vote.
Let's go to a break. Now, I do think at the end of the day, America's not going to go over the cliff like people say this. People got to read the fine print. This is not citizenship here. They're here anyway. We're not going to put 12 million people on buses. Come
a
on,
yes.
right?
That's a yes. That's a
3-2.
All right. When we come back, we're going to head over to East Ramapo, where the state appointed a fiscal monitor comparing the district school board battle to Brown versus the Board of Ed. And I got to tell you, I think it's a good comparison. We're going to be right back with that after this.